Good morning, evening, or afternoon, Internet. My name is David Benjamin Halbert, DB Halbert, author of the Black series, available on Amazon, and I'm continuing my adventure today in my path to learn Pathfinder. And today I run into an issue I foresaw coming, and that is today I am not going to be working with Pathfinder rules. As I completed several encounters preparing them for this session, the mock session I'm going to run for myself, yesterday I ran into the situation where before I start making any more encounters, the ones that are going to happen inside the catacombs, I kind of want to know what the catacombs are going to look like. I have an ecology in mind. I have an idea of what I want to see happen, but I want to uh, have the map for that before I have the creatures, so I can more utilize the map to determine certain effects for it. So, today we are going to begin map making. Now, generally, my sessions, I tend to find that one encounter, especially in a system that people are new to, one encounter is going to take up a significant portion of the session unless it's a throwaway encounter. And then you're going to have some role play, and that's going to be 2.5, 3 hours worth of content, and another encounter might be a little much. But I do suspect that I might have two encounters on the first game night, which will be fine, will be cool and dandy. But today we will begin working on the first map at least, and maybe the second map. And this is where having so much time ahead of the session comes in handy, as as a game master, I can make multiple maps and have them ready ahead of time. If the group was just starting up and they decide, hey, let's have a session next week, that's when I would run into the situation of not being sure if I could have all of the maps I would want ready, and it might be a situation where we have the first encounter somewhere near the beginning of the session and we end the session just before the second encounter. That would give me an extra week of making a map for that encounter based on what I described up to that point. That being said, I have guaranteed my players that we will be using Talespire to run our battle maps. And what Talespire is it's essentially, if I open up Castle, it's essentially Dwarven Forge. The Dwarven Forge tile tokens, but in a program so that it can be an online platform. And the reason it has to be an online platform is because my group is spread across the entirety of the United States, so we can't really, and sometimes the world, they travel from time to time, so we can't have an in-person session. That being said, I still think with an in-person session, we would still end up using Talespire, and here's why. I get all of these awesome tokens for free. Let's make myself offline. That way I stop getting those pop-ups. Okay, because Talespire is currently only through Steam, and right now you can see at the bottom, it's the Dragon Build beta, because they're only in the beta phase right now. Okay. So, of the first map, we already determined is going to be the road into Fulham. As you can see up here, that's what this board is labeled. And this is going to be the encounter at night. They settled in. They're just about a day's travel from Fulham. So they had to make camp. They weren't going to be able to push it all night and make it there. I mean, they could if they want to, which would eliminate this encounter, which I would take that as a win for them, but it does reduce the amount of information they have before they get to Fulham, and will make things a little bit more hectic when they're there. Maybe increase the difficulty of some things for them. But, so this is the encounter with 6 zombies that are just your bog standard boring zombies. So first things first, we need a road. So I'll go ahead. So 16 squares by 2 squares. Okay. Just a slight turn. Let's actually make it a slight angle before straying back out. And I can plop these in like so. And then back to straight road, and let's do another 16, and that's going to be a nice large map when we square it out. So scroll out. And for comparison, these are the size of the tokens in this system. I think one problem they do have right now is with the system, some creatures are classified as large, like this dragon, but it's using the medium token, and you can't... Oh yeah, no, you can put it in between. Actually, I think that's just because we're in explore mode. If we go into turn base... I don't know. You're supposed to be able to snap it. But go ahead and kill these. Because, well, the dragon that said large had that base. They do obviously have the ability to do a large base, like so. So it will be interesting how because they intend for for people to be able to make their own pieces. So it will be interesting when that feature is added to see if I can go ahead and make much larger creatures. Okay. So along the road, I'm just gonna place some light grass pieces. This is not. This is specifically the shallow grass, or sparse grass. And then from there, we will have patches of sparse grass, but most of it's going to be thick, because... Whoa, that's a big patch. Well, actually, I want a sizable patch, so... Oops. 3x3, that's going to be 6x6. Oops. Nature... Sparse. Let's put you back on hotbar. So I want a 3x3, so 6x6. Oh, that's fine. There. That's going to be their campsite. Just a little bit off the road. Actually, I want to pick that up. So control cut, and just barely off the road. Okay. Next, we are going to fill this out a bit. It does not have to be a complete square. An accurate square, I mean. It can be rectangular. There can be bits sticking out. It's not that big of a deal. That's fine. So here's the thing, we will be going back in and adding extra little hills like that, so. And I do utilize the clip feature often, because you can get much nicer ramped areas that are very obviously ramped rather than a very steep step. Like so. But when you're doing that, it's one of those things where you kind of want to get the altitude you want the highest point to be, and then work down rather than working up. Or get the general layout and then flush it out gently. Let me reload this so I can see if stream is displaying. I need to load up my YouTube then. There we go. Yeah, okay, so it is displaying. Oh, where's my mouse? There it is. Okay, so I want a hill over here. How high do I want it? There. I want one over here. And another one here, but I want it going this way. So I want the top to be there and it be coming down this way. Okay. See, it's just a matter of doing these basic construction. Minecraft is good practice for this type of construction. So this is a very uniformed hill, and I will let the players decide whether or not that has meaning. It doesn't right now, but you leave the option for the players who see it and go, what does that mean? Okay, and this one, actually want that there, that there. Goes there. There. Okay, and now we go into... Actually, this is going to bug me. Let me just fix this real quick, guys. Give me a moment. So, sparse grass. Yeah, their area is slightly raised. And actually, I don't like this. Okay, now we can clean this up. Drop that down. Okay, and I want a steeper hill back here. I want... And it can be hollow. And actually, what you can do, I recommend always using the build grid, because you can right and left click to get the segment you want. So actually I want it there, not there, there. That will be, because each of these are 1 unit thick, but you can move the grid up and down 0.5 units. So that's what I'm doing with that. And then if I double click there, I can build this one up and have it... No, I want it at the top of that one, because there's that half gap right there. Okay, and then I want a little bit of a steep drop off here, so let's have this just there. It's a steeper drop off, and the rest is going to slope down a little bit more slowly. So. I need my one. Okay, and I wish I could lock this bar. If someone knows how, please let me know. Okay, and here's the thing. We're now going into... Actually, no, we're still one higher. Are we? No, we're not. Okay, so now we are doing the... Oh, wait. And then I can drop this by half a drop and do what I did over on the other side. But here's the thing, you gotta do each one individually when doing it this way. Just fill this out a little bit so it looks a little less jank. There we go. Nice hill back here. This is going to be their resting zone, and we'll fill that out a little bit more. Actually, let's put another, just a itty bitty hill. Just a friendly neighborhood hill. Right there. So, a little bit of a diverse, actually, I would like a longer hill. Not a tall one, but maybe... a little bit taller than a base, and then... nice long descent. I don't want it all the way down. There we go, halfway up. So this, just by making sure there's not too many flat points, makes this environment all the slight bit more interesting than just a flat board. If I wanted a flat board, I'd be playing on Fantasy Grounds, and I'd draw the map, because I consider myself a decent artist. Alright, now I already know I got upset myself for just having random bits out there. So let's go ahead and make this into, and it's a bit more rectangular because the party's resting point is right here and things will be coming towards them. So I actually need less space over here. The road is actually not the centerpiece of this road into Fulham. So let's go ahead and put that back down to base level. So if you're wondering what key bindings I'm using, when working in Talespire, to move the grid to where your mouse is, the level your mouse is pointing to, you tap both the right and left click mouse buttons, and that moves it to that level. Now the key to this map actually will be somehow making it look good with a sporadum of trees and bushes and rocks and so I want a hill right here as the reason the road turned the way it did, and I want it to be a large hill like the one over there. So let's go ahead Let's have a single square as the center and it come down from that. Nice large hill. And actually, let's do this number. Actually, once it comes around this way, I want it to swoop out like so. And if you do start building on a certain level and click and drag, it will hold that level unless you're trying to clip through something, at which point it doesn't like you. It will also try to, if you try click and drag over objects, it will put your creation above the object rather than trying to force it into or beneath. So that's a secret hidden path in this hill that I want to put there, and now we build the hill around that. And what the best way of doing that would be to square it off. So get these sections. Actually, I can, if I delete that, and if you hold shift and right click, it deletes a square. And also these. So that is the minimum point for that bit. Whoop. Control Z. Keyboard commands. That's the minimum bit for there. Because of that, this has to be about there. Oh, you're not in a square. There. Okay. And that means this bit back here is actually at this height. There's a little bit of tedium in this process. We'll get to spreading trees out here once we finish this hill and something to make this geographically pleasing, I mean. And actually, what I'll do is No, that one. Same level. That works, and let's... There. Take care of a little bit of that blank space that was right there. Back to this hill that I'm making interesting for no reason whatsoever. Except that it might pull my party's attention and get them to say things that they probably shouldn't say. Because the last thing you want to do for a DM who's paying attention is give them ideas. Alright, stay at that level. Go. So if you... And here's the thing. You have to give them the opportunity to give you ideas. So you have to place things in that you have no intention of using whatsoever, but they can then cling on to. Okay, so this is looking good. Let's take up a bigger brush. Oh, and if you double click, it centers you on that point. Oh, I did not mean to do that. Remember, we only have to get to the edge over here, so. Gonna make this a little bit steeper at this point, so we're gonna be using just the 1x1 from here on out. If you hover near where you want to paint, put a block down, it Right down to a sharp edge, slightly steep slope, where they just said, you know what, F it, we're not worrying about this hill. There we go. That's the hill face to the road. So what I'm gonna do right now is just make the bits right here ascending this side look as close to, by just building off of the base, get as close as I can to this hidden path right here. So and then from there we can more smoothly a little bit more smoothly build out a non-straight edge, which makes it more interesting. Happy little hill. There we go. That's an interesting face to this hill. So now I want to curve this edge a bit. So I want, there, that's about the curve I want away from this edge. Actually, I want a little bit less steep. There. goes off over here. Here's the thing, at this point we're filling out the edge, so we just need to get this bit to look natural up to it rather than out from it. So we know at a base it's going to be at least too high before it goes off the edge. Right here, we are dealing with, don't want it flat there. It's a waste of memory to have things unseen and inside other things. At least these are presenting something to the map. Cut. Let's see. Forgot to whoop. Cut. And that actually presents a different, more interesting look on it. Control Z. Ooh. If I put there, this hill is suddenly even more interesting. Haha! And here's the thing, my hope is that the group isn't on this side of the board, so I'm not too worried about this back end being pristine. But it's not like I'm gonna be effortless in it. Oops. There we go, one nice, interesting, large hill that has had a road cut through it. Alright. Now do something over here, because that's a lot of open canvas. Actually, over here is a lot of open canvas. And seldom in nature do we see perfect flats. Just another one of those instances where give the players something to get hooked on, even if it's not important at all. Strange wavy hill like that. I'll do something similar over here. Section of it's too high. Oops. Yeah, this is just a small baby hill. I'm fine with that. Topographically, that makes sense. What am I saying? I don't know what it means topographically. I'm just speaking out of my posterior, making things up to sound intelligent. It's a bad habit of mine. And there we go. Actually, because we've done so well over there, I need to fix these. Okay, this one I need to... Oh, wait, I hadn't done this part to him yet. You will notice that in doing these half blocks, so they're much more destructive on your PC. They do make the map just that tad bit more interesting, as there's a little bit more variation in the sloping. Because now you know that I pointed at my screen. This is a cliff. So I need to fix this up. Whereas this is a slope. Refilling my drink. Okay. I'm a Diet Coke fan. Mostly out of circumstance. I'm sure if I was raised in a household where a different beverage was more prevalent, I'd be that beverage's. I'd be a fan of that beverage, but my household growing up was always Diet Coke. It does have a distinct flavor difference from regular Coke too. For people who are not Diet Coke fans, they might not recognize that. Let's extend this slope a little bit to make it look a little bit less painful of a way down on some of these corners. This is where Minecraft training comes in. Oops. Now it's possible to build these maps entirely without the use of clipping. But you can see how having the layer down first and then clipping down into it is easier than planning from the beginning where the clipping would be needed. And just putting down what you need around and then moving the scaling up half a degree. See, that's such a much more nice slope than it was just a second ago. That's already a half input. Yeah, we're just gonna leave that. We know its purpose. It's gonna be the party zone. Party start zone. Actually, let's do this first and then see if we need anything added. Doesn't look like it. Haha. So we can just grab from over there. And finally, something that was looking a little rigid, nice and smooth down. So this rigidity is much more impactful when the hill itself is this smooth slope down as it is. Actually, I don't like this section right here. Oops. I do need to put you all the way down. Oops. The little zigzag, while that is how you do it in Minecraft, didn't quite look well on a D&D map, so I went ahead and switched it. Okay, so we have our map. Now, the group is likely now to populate it with other things. So let's put a big stone there, turn it a little, put a big stone up here, turn it a little, put a big stone there, turn it, put a big stone there. There is a reason I'm doing the big stones first. Because they have the greatest impact on the map. This is a very rocky area. They're getting close to a mining town. No. So I'm going to avoid that one, but no. Yes. So each of these stones lands in a quarter of a token space. It's just populating the area with something other than trees, which is next. Well, bushes and trees. So I think I should do trees first. So I put the stones down first because stones would actually, in nature, determine where a tree can and cannot grow easily. Now that doesn't mean the tree can't grow there, and tree roots are known to be able to break things as tough as concrete. which is what I'm going to do right there. So I want a tree on the top of that hill because I think it looks nice. So let's put some pines down as well. Make this a biodiverse forest. And there is a randomness to my choice of where I click, because nature is random, at least to human conception. This hill needs a tree. This spot needs a tree. So that's starting to look very foresty. If I do say so myself. Now for some bushes. Oh, that's a floating bush. We're the Knights of Ni and we need a shrubbery. I have a feeling these will be seen more as like mossy rocks, so I'm utilizing them in more in that fashion. Oops. But just to clarify, those are what are qualified as bushes in in Talespire. So, not on me. Now, just a few different types of dead tree as well as the living ones. And avoiding making any of them levitating trees. Now, doesn't this look like a forest? Let's put another big one right here. Now, we have a few more props to put down. Let's lay some roots. fallen branches, what have you. Branch that fell off that tree. Alright. We know we want a campfire. They won't. So props and lighting are supposed to be able to get put in slightly more refined areas. Let's put a couple logs near this campfire. So as a couple more stones. Do we have a tent propped yet? It's likely the party will have a tent. They're not expensive. Appears we do not have a tent prop though. What the party does have, as it is their mission, as they have preordainedly accepted it, thus the adventure has begun, a wagon. I would go with a draft horse, but unfortunately the only option is a mule. And that wagon is carrying barrels. I'm just putting them outside of the wagon because you can't put things in the wagon. Alright, now, the encounter that will happen on this map is late at night. In the depth of the night. With a thick fog. Nope. No post filters. I remembered just then that those cause issue. So a thick fog. Alright. Let's turn the fog down to nothing for now. Let's turn the light back on. As we place our zomballs. So we know on this fight we will have 6 zombies approaching the campsite. Two, three. So let's have them moving. the campsite. Now, we know our 4 heroes for our first adventure, and I will delete these guys for when I use this exact same map, because I like this map. This is a nice map. For a forest, I really like this. So, we know we have, and again, they haven't implemented the character creator into Fantasy Grounds yet, so we are dealing with a dwarf warrior. Of some kind. We have a human sorcerer, a halfling cleric, and a goblin, actually. We have a goblin rogue, so let's go. So here's our goblin. All right. Because they didn't expect the goblin hero. Here is. Let's use this for our sorceress, even though she is a she. Is there any dwarves? Yes. Here's our dwarf warrior. And our halfling. That's our cleric. Unfortunately, they do not have easy controls to change the facing. There we go. Everyone's facing around at the campsite. Let's turn the lights back down. The fog back up. And it's only when a player character is like, I light a torch, that they then become a signal to be able to be like, zombie over here! I like that. I might actually, because it's night. There is some light from, oops, I pressed the F button. So I can show, you see a zombie over here, a zombie over here, a zombie over here, here, and Where is zombie number 6? Yeah, there, and there. Actually, default sky, grease lump, darkness. Ooh. With darkness, I can make it slightly brighter. Ooh, that's much nicer. Turn off this guy's torch. Ooh, that's a much nicer black, like dark storm, dark night effect. Alright. And there we go. We have our first board. Turn that off. Turn build mode off because we are no longer building this map. This is where we introduce the party to combat. Alright, actually, if I tab, oh, that's a good way of doing it. I can tab to locate all tokens. As the GM. But in tab, I can also place marker block. I can fetch all players to it when I move them to this map, because I'm not sure where they'll end up in relevance to it. And you can roll dice. Ooh, I rolled a 4. Actually, if I roll this dice, can I pick it up again and roll it again? Yes, I can. Okay. So this is our map. And I like it, how dark it actually is. Okay. I'm going to take a quick break, get a drink, snack maybe, and then we'll move on. For those of you who are light sensitive, I'm going to move on to the old Fulham Church. This is a map we have not worked on. We have not fixed lighting for. So it's about to be bright. 3, 2, 1. Not too bright, but still wanted to give warning. Alright, I'll see you guys in a moment. Okay, so we're coming back, and so here's the thing. When I say the old Fulham Church, this thing's going to be on a hill. It's not going to be part of the town. I have a board for the town itself. That's where the old inn is, the Yelling Mongoose, the old inn is going to be. The old Fulham Church is going to be outside of town. It's going to be its own board. And that's because it's going to be up on a large hill, concealing the catacombs that have been forgotten, which are, and after deliberation from yesterday's stream to today's, I've decided that the MacGuffin, the big scary item that needs to be stopped in some way, is an orb that it destroyed the person who touched it originally, and it began then releasing waves of necrotic energy, and the party that originally was trying to steal it was caught in the church and were slain there, except for one potential ally for the group. So what we're going to be doing first, so I'm going to first clear this, as we are no longer building a forest. I actually really like how that map turned out. Just as a second note. Now, we are going to dungeon. We're going to need a lot of wall sections. So this wall right here, this is not wall that has pathway that can be walked. If I put a piece down, not giant, let's put what is currently our Harley Quinn. I mean, it can fit in that section, but that's not really a section. It's not meant to be a walkable space. So we know we need we will need with this wall. So back to dungeon. And we'll build it with basic walls first and then add other things. So with this wall, yeah. We'll also definitely need 2x2 squares. Actually, you can get rid of both of those, as I don't plan on any of these hallways being less than 10 feet wide. There is the option of going with these, and those on opposite sides of each other's equal the 10-foot wide hall. So go with those. Corner pieces. Corner fillers. And we will want pillars and ruined pillars later on. And we'll fix up the edges as we see fit. So the reason I'm building the catacombs first is because the rest of it will be sitting upon it, up on a hill. So we want the catacombs built first. So There is a bit of section that has been dug out. And that's where we're going to be coming down. The church will be sitting upon where we start this build. So, we will be starting this build in a section. And I'm very familiar with the cavern bits. As I've used them to construct a mega dungeon, which I will be... actually, let's go ahead and go look at my my mega dungeon. Just to show, I do know what I'm doing on on Talespire. The dungeon. So this was going to be a campaign. It was a campaign that hopped into my head where there is a mega dungeon that the group travels through. And this was floor 1. So, if we hop back to our other campaign and get back to that map. Eternal Eclipse. That's the campaign's name because eventually this ancient orb is going to be shattered. I know it. This is a playroom. It's where the players end up when first joining in, and then I send everyone to a certain board. So we're going to the Old Fulham Church. So this break-in obviously was they dug down to this area. So when we look at this, we want this to be into a room of some kind rather than into a hallway. Into a hallway would assume that this dungeon was built with this as the entrance. That's not the case. This is not the intended entrance. So we need this to be into a room. That being said, I need to open up dungeon and get some dungeon tiles. Just fill this bit right here out. So I'm thinking right there and wall there, that there, and there we go. So this is a catacomb, so we are dealing with sarcophagi and ancient creatures of history. So this room is going to be one of the burial chambers hidden beneath this church. There, oh. And that doesn't fit in a burial chamber. The roots coming in, not that big of a deal. I mean, there's stuff coming in from the top. As I mentioned before, trees are known to be able to break concrete, so it only makes sense that over time roots would be coming in from landscaping up top. But this is but one of the chambers. So let's actually, we need this one down here. Because when I do this again, I need to be able to do this and this. I also need that down here. So this being a singular burial room, we need a doorway out. It's going to be a 2-wide doorway. So I'm going to need another one of those there and there. This, there. So actually this can be removed, as can both of those, for this, right? Yeah. There and there. Just as effective. That also means, well, let's build with this as far as we can, and we can use the 1 to increase the length to there. And then we do need we're looking for floor diversity. To there, and let's delete that one and replace it with a cracked one for floor diversity purposes. Now we can go to doors. These are big, heavy stone doors. I'm glad they were added in, because it used to not, that wasn't an option before. So these are nice big stone doors for this sarcophagus room. It takes effort to enter this chamber. Now, we will have an encounter in here. So, that gives us some more information. This will be another encounter room. Probably just skeletons. And these will probably won't be a severe encounter, but the bursting skeleton effect could wear down the party a bit more. So here's the thing. I told you, my intent with the first adventure is to put the fear of God into the party. So, the first adventure and coming to a room where skeletons begin exploding when you kill them just feels perfect for me. This room itself, because I don't want to leave it. These are my only 2 coffin options. Actually, what I'll do first, excuse me. This is a burial chamber for 4. Oops. In that case, there's a better design. It's a burial chamber for 4. Yeah, that's... I want that slight raise for where the coffin is. But they are fancy coffins. Yeah, there's no sarcophagi. So I'm thinking 4 skeletons in here. That'd be a moderate encounter. Then we move on. So with this, our hallway is going to be made up of these. The hallway this comes out into. So it's a matter of how big do we want this catacombs to be. This is an 80-point encounter. The other 2 encounters we have set up are 120. Really, our maximum, we kind of only want to get halfway to level 2, honestly. So 240 plus 80, 320. We're dealing with 180 left. About. And the reason that is, I kind of like to prolong the earliest levels, because that's where the most threat to player life is. Once you get past the first few levels, at that point you have so many more resources in your players that they just walk through the abyss of death. At least in my experience, I'm the very forgiving type of DM where player death is not common at my table, and it's something I long for. I shouldn't. I should consider myself a good DM because my players have fun while also not being threatened with death, but that's not the case. So here's the thing. We can fill this area with just as many significant challenges to the players without forcing them to face everything. A lot of this is they enter the room, suddenly things rise from the dead. So we can do that nature. We can make sure that we have down this hall, the hallway they need to go down. That's where these energy waves that are causing the dead to rise are coming from. And I think I want this hallway trapped. So consider me evil. So we do this number. Copy. Just delete this wall for now. There. So this side is basically a repeat of the other side. We can go ahead and delete this corner and make it into a corner. And 2 doors. Big old stone doors. There we go. Group's gonna have trouble if they try to open them outward. Okay. So we now have these 2 rooms. Now this is a catacomb. So this is meant to be a burial place for a lot of people. It's not meant to be 7 people buried here. These stone doors are keeping the undead in place. So we can make it much larger if we insist for the players to understand that they don't have to go through each of these rooms and fight each of the sections of undead. Or if they happen to beeline for the MacGuffin, then, well, we don't have to worry about anything. Because we can then say, well, the MacGuffin slays the undead. So what we can do is if we do... Oh. We can do this thing. And then just fix this corner. I have no idea what's going on there. So just go ahead and delete these. Whoa! Aww! There we go. What? There we go. That was weird. So what we can do now is put another one here and another one here. And suddenly we have catacombs. Actually, don't need that long, and we want the larger one on that side. Larger bit on that side, so let's... There. And we're going to do a corner over here. This will be the way to the entrance. That's been collapsed, essentially. And that's the reason this catacomb has been forgotten. Now we have the quote-unquote boss fight over here. So we want a large double door. Big old stone door. I actually kind of wish that one of the options, there was an option to have these doors where they showed you which way they would open. So that's not the way I want it to open. There we go. Okay, I need to go ahead and quit to desktop real quick and relaunch. Relaunch Talespire. Began freaking out on me there at the end. I wish the boards option should be available at all times, not just under building. Because if in play, while playing, the ability to switch between boards and move the other people in your session to a certain board is more important than the build mode. Big old chamber. Let's do it the way we have been doing it. So one out there. This is the big chamber of secrets of this catacomb. thought with that is that replacing some with the cracked version, some of these with the cracked version, will add just enough diversity into that mix that it feels a little bit less repetitive. Now, this chamber I don't want to be a massive boss, like a massive number of creatures fight. I want it to be a boss fight. I'm thinking a Ghast, which will be a party level +1, and maybe a Ghoul. Okay, I want this to be 1 removed, 2 removed from the door, 3 removed from the door. Now I want this one and this one to be broken. That rubble laying down like so. Oh, sarcophagi. So let's go ahead and delete all of these because I just found what I wanted. Let's go to another board real quick. Force a reload. It hasn't kept our theme. just in case it doesn't auto. There. Now let's try switching. Because it should maintain that. Yeah. But I can't switch between boards because I have to go to building mode first. So sarcophagus is on this list, by the way. It's just this list, for some reason, is not alphabetical order. This room is of great importance. It's got ever-burning braziers. That shows off a collapsed entrance. Actually, let's make these pillars a little bit longer. And let's put some rubble in the center, like so. And so so yeah, each of these sections can be trapped in some way. Now here's the thing. This shaft continues upward. Now this is where we determine. I'm thinking this is how tall this fall is. By fall, I mean if the party has to rush out of here for any reason whatsoever. Hey! Sorry, I haven't been, I don't expect people to be watching me, so I'm not the type of person who thinks I'm being watched at all, so, hi. Uh, yeah, and a bit of building in silence. But this is the pathway the party has to enter and exit from. So whether that be at ease or in haste is dependent on the situation. And here's the thing. Above this, we're going to be building building a church on top of a hill. So this being the top of this hole, we can then have castle ruins. I find to be the best for like a church type of situation. And that's going to cover all but this central hole right here. Keeping in mind that this is a very old church where this hole is found. And actually, I need to put some rubble around that opening. As it's also in the far back corner of the church, so I need to put the walls there. So here's our church. This is the base level. And I really need to check my chat more often. Someone was posting in it for 4 minutes. I didn't respond to them. Okay. Yeah, that's just resting on top. That's exactly the level we wanted at. Actually, yeah, we can't have it go all the way in. So I need to delete you. There. And that's the top. I'll say that's the top of the hill, and we'll slope it down. From there is this small church. Rest upon it. Oops. Oops. Okay. So I want this tile set for the whole of the church. So we'll do it this way. That'll get me to this edge. That at one point in time was the altar. A makeshift one, be it, but an altar nonetheless. Okay, and we want... It's a good amount of floor. Window without floor. Okay, and we want a door. Yep. And for props, we want some pews. Wooden benches. Come on. There's gotta be bench. Shabby bench. That works. It works. And we can take care of the roof at a different time, but this gives us what we need. If we go to... There's a trapdoor section. Hatches. There we go. So that implies that there was stone covering it, and that stone was removed to the rubble piles next to it. There we go. Now we apply darkness. Suddenly everything is near black, and it's amazing. Though they're likely to come here in the day, and we'll apply the darkness once they get down into the bottom. And I will finish this hill off so that it covers up all of this, so they can't just zoom around and be like, oh, there's the dungeon underneath. I see that already. But for now, I'm going to call the stream there. That's going to be the end of it. Thank anyone who stopped by. Thank you for checking me out. I'm using this as an opportunity to help me become better at my game mastering as I switch from 5th edition to Pathfinder 2nd edition. 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons to Pathfinder 2nd edition. Alright,